Yeah, I wasn't surprised, guys. We had heard all along that the White Sox were likely to stay in-house. You guys know Jerry Reinsdorf. He's about as loyal as any owner in the business. It took a long time for him to sour on Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn, but you kind of figured he wasn't going to put out an APB to find the next great general manager. He's like, what do I have in-house? He likes to reward people in-house. I get that. He also said pretty much early on, we wanted somebody in place by the end of the year. Now, I don't love that scenario because what you're doing is you're ruling out anybody who's actually under contract to a team this year. I mean, why not wait until the offseason to see who shakes loose? There's probably rumors that David Stearns is going to wind up with the Mets anyway, but why not at least give yourself a chance to get somebody like that and just hold off for a couple of months? I don't think there's a lot of urgency to have a guy here by the end of the season. But given the way the White Sox operate, the way they like to stay in house, I didn't think it was a big surprise.
Right, Tom. I agree. I agree. And listen, as a fellow Fox contributor like you're kind of my partner in the playoffs. Thank you. Have you ever Kratz hit on this, and I'm going to steal Kratz's thunder here, but have you ever promoted a guy personally because you think they've asked you to, or they've said, hey, I'm in line for this job. Can you push me over the finish line?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's to me again. I'd rather widen the pool of candidates, right? And you think about Chris Getz; he's been in charge of the White Sox player development. I mean, look at the people of position player wise, especially on the field for the White Sox, and you tell me who has really developed and gotten better at the big league level. I'll give you Luis Robert for sure. After that, I don't see that with Vaughn. I don't see it with Moncada. I don't see it with Anderson. I mean, up and down the line of Jimenez, I just don't see players getting better or close to what their ceiling is. Is that all in Chris Getz? No. But when you're in charge of the player development system, developing a player begins in the minor leagues, continues through the major leagues. Whatever is going on in there in Chicago, to me, is not working because we talk about this team underachieving the last couple of years. I have not bought that at all, guys. I have not liked this team the last couple of years. I think they've been too right-handed. I think they hit way too many ground balls. I think they chase way too much. It's not a diverse offense. I never thought this team was what a lot of people thought they were, just based on sheer ability. So there's probably something systematically here that needs to change in the White Sox system. And maybe it would have taken an outside eye to really discover that.
And kind of what AJ was asking about, like, do you ever promote somebody that you're like, oh, like to me, if I were to say who should be a GM, Raul Ibanez should be a GM. I think Raul Ibanez would do an amazing job because of all the things he's gone through. But guys that you've connected with throughout your time that are like, hey, I'd like to become a GM, whether the assistant GM, because we talked about the fact that Chris Getz, his name never came up anywhere. And I feel like that kind of stuff is like self-promoting. Or are we wrong and we just missed Chris Getz's name somewhere?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think, the jury is still out on what he might be as a GM. I like your idea of Raul Ibanez. It reminds me a little bit of the Rangers going out and getting Chris Young. I thought that was a great hire by Texas, and I said that at the time, not seeing the Rangers sitting here, competing for an AL West championship, but a former player who's seen the game from the business side and from that commissioner's office side. I love all of his hires that he brought in there, starting with the manager. So it's a good call to look at a former player who has that broad breadth of experience. Obviously, Chris Getz is a former player, but doesn't have that broad breadth of experience. I also look at guys like James Click, who deserves absolutely another job as a GM. I mentioned David Stearns. There's other people out there who you might be able to get, or at least make a phone call. I always say this about managers. When people always want the manager fired, you better have somebody else in mind who is a better option. And give credit again to Chris Young, because Bruce Bochy's a Hall of Fame manager. When he's out there and you're looking for a new manager, you make that call. Maybe Bruce Bochy says, no, I'm cool. I'm retired. I don't want to manage. But that's a call you have to make. And for me, David Stearns is that guy right now. And again, maybe he winds up with the Mets. Maybe that's behind the scenes a done deal. But I don't want to close myself out from the opportunity of hiring somebody like that.